How's it going, everyone? It is Drago. We're back with another chapter of Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest, Chapter 117, Flame Blade. The cover page for our chapter has a lot of people on it, but center of it you have one of the Earth Dragon God cores, and then you just have a bunch of characters around it, with those characters being Gajil, Urza, Gray, Wendy, Lucy, Natsu, Loxus, Lily, Carla, and Happy. I think it's a pretty okay cover. I just think for story-wise, like they destroyed the last core in the last chapter. So maybe would have worked out better there, but we had a cool like Gajil Levy cover, so I don't know. We pick up our chapter with Natsu's fight against the Earth Dragon God, pretty much at the exact point we left off in the last chapter, to where he was punching him and his punch was actually dealing damage to him. And while he's getting punched, he's just thinking like, oh crap, that means that all the cores must have been destroyed. Which he has a pretty good reaction to it, because he just starts laughing and, you know, saying that this is something new for him. That a human and a god can be duking it out, and that he's never had such a handicap. Since they're kind of on equal playing field now, he's super into it, and he's like, okay, Natsu, bring it on. And Natsu starts up this fight with a fire dragon's talon, which I'm sure Natsu was not very ready for this, because he just straight up grabs Natsu's leg and chucks him. Just a heads up for the Earth Dragon God attacks in this chapter. I absolutely hate the naming of them because I have no idea how to pronounce them. But he follows it up with an attack, and it's very similar to like almost Luffy doing like Gear 3rd, I think that's what it was, or like Ms. Marvel just making like a giant fist. And he has this giant rock fist he's going to punch Natsu, which Natsu just straight up takes it with his bare fist at first, and he follows it up with the Fire Dragon King's Destruction Fist, which shatters his giant rock fist no problemo. So Natsu starts to run in to go do some more attacks on him, which gets countered pretty easily by the Earth Dragon God, and he ends up getting elbowed to the ground and like kicked and absolutely barraged by him. Even with all those attacks against Natsu, he's just like, how stubborn are you? He's starting to send a ton of rocks Natsu's way, and he gets saved by Suzaku, which gosh dang, that was a lot of rocks, and he just had no problem slashing all of them just to little pebbles. So now we're back into this fight with Natsu and Suzaku fighting the Earth Dragon God, which Suzaku immediately picked up on the fact that, you know, he can cut his rocks now. Which I like that Natsu just decides to test it, so he just punches a rock, and then he's like, oh, it didn't break, you're a liar. And Suzaku basically just figures out that, you know, he's weaker now, he can obviously cut the rock, so someone must have done something to, you know, weaken him, and he just assumes that it's Silene or the cats. And I love that Natsu's just in the background thinking that, like, this was solely on Happy, and, like, Happy found his weakness. Which the two get ready to fight, and I love that Natsu's just still giving the two group names, like, okay, we're the super fighters now. Which the two getting ready to fight the Earth Dragon God didn't bode very well for them, because he's like, well, I'm sorry, Ignia, but, you know, I said I wouldn't kill Natsu, but he's really pissed me off, and it's time for him to die. How dare these humans, you know, defy the gods. And he turns into his dragon form, vowing to kill them for being a very big Earth Dragon God. He moves very fast, and even Natsu and Suzaku point this out. And he stomps them into the ground, and he does another attack to them, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Which I imagine most people would have died in this attack, because for one, you're getting punched into the ground by a giant dragon, and then having a giant like laser beam being shot into you. But it's pushing them down into the ground, and Natsu and Suzaku are both saying they can't breathe, and you start getting rocks and stuff forming around them, and the Earth Dragon God is saying, be part of my labyrinth. And all that giant destruction he made on the surface starts to restore itself, and he thinks it's all done and over with, and that Natsu and Suzaku are part of the earth now. They shouldn't be able to move, so they can't breathe, and they will be returned to the earth. But you should never underestimate Natsu Dragneel, because that ground starts to shatter, and it starts to break and Natsu and Suzaku come bursting out of it, which I really do like this final bit of the chapter because, you know, Suzaku can't really do much more, and he's like, well, I wanted to cut your honor down, but I've used all my power, and he ends up giving his sword over to Natsu, which might be one of the coolest things I've seen Natsu do, that he, you know, has a sword now. And the two end up doing a unison raid with Suzaku's sword, and Natsu does an attack on the Earth Dragon God, doing the Fire Dragon Slash. And that is the end of our chapter. So my thoughts. This is a very, very fast chapter. Most of it just going to, you know, Natsu's fight against the Earth Dragon God, with Suzaku eventually joining in. I never knew how much I needed Natsu fighting with a sword, but like now that I have it in my life, like I really enjoy it. Like, I'd be really down if, like, Natsu starts adopting, like, random weapons into his arsenal now and, like, imbuing them with Fire Dragon Slayer magic. Now, is the Earth Dragon God actually down for the count? I'm gonna push a hard X for doubt on this one, but I will say it was a pretty flashy way to go out if he did, because it could be very much a situation to where you had, like, a character like Silene, to where like she had a mega attack go down on her and it looked like she was dead, but then she was still alive in the next chapters and she's still currently alive. And especially for how big of a dragon he is, and you know, his whole thing being with Earth, you know, how deep was Natsu really able to cut into him? How much damage did he really take from the blow? I'm 50-50 on it. I know this arc's been going for a little while. If he's down, I'm cool with it. It was a pretty cool way for him to go down. If the fight continues, I'm equally okay with it because he's probably still going to fight with his sword. This was a blazing fast chapter. What do you guys think of it? Leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I'm going to have a Tartaros video coming up here. The review's probably going to come out before it, because I'm kind of working on both in tandem and I'm very busy with some other things going on. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and this is Drago signing out.